Okiru.
Welcome, JP, to the Okiru podcast, man. Thank you for blessing us with your presence.
Yo.
Welcome, JP.
Welcome to the Okiru podcast.
Guess.
Virtual podcast.
All right. So when we spoke the other day, you had this topic that you started talking to me about, and it was something called the sunk cost fallacy.
Yep.
And I remember when we were speaking about, you put it into these basic examples initially. And then what intrigued me was when you started putting these examples in the relationship part, because obviously I think that's when this, I guess, subject is overlooked. You know, how many of us actually have heard of this sunk cost fallacy? Because I've never heard of it. But when you started to say that concept of it, I was like, so that's what it is. So could you talk about
let's get into it. It's something that, like, I don't know what triggered it, but it was something where I was just scrolling down my news feed at work, and I'm like, man, what am I doing here? So I started thinking about these things, and then for some reason, sunk cost fallacy came up on my screen. And I started going like, what is this? What is this? So I started researching into it, started reading it. Sunk cost fallacy, the idea that just because you've invested in something means that you have to continue investing in it. And there's been a lot of examples out there. I've used the example of buying a ticket to a really good concert. Oh, sorry, not to a really good concert, but buying a ticket to a concert. But one that could probably be easily understand is gambling, because people understand the logic. People understand what gambling is. So imagine this: you head up to Crown, go to the weekend, go to the blackjack table, and you're playing, and you end up losing money. Let's say you end up losing a week's worth of groceries. So what you do is that you're like, why not? Let's continue to gamble so that I can get my money back.
Right.
But if you think about the logic that you've lost money, you're going to go spend more money. It's broken. That logic is broken. Because you've already lost the money, the initial your week's worth of grocery money. You've already lost it. So why are you even continuing to spend more money?
Well, do you think it's probably that hope? Oh man, maybe this one more, I will get that win, right? Yeah. If I double down, maybe this will be the one where I can get all my money back. Potentially, right? It's about that luck.
It's potential. Potentially that is the thing. But the aspect of it that we need to think of is there's already a sunk cost involved in that.
Yeah.
Where you've already spent the money. You've already lost the money. And what it does is it affects the way we think. The sunk cost affects the way that we think. It tricks us. It tricks our mind to wanting to invest more into it.
Right.
More resources, more time, more money, more effort. And if you think out of the scope of gambling, let's go a bit deeper. Let's go to something like you said before. Like, think about this: how many times of, like, in a relationship, a job, friendships, you're still in it because you've put the time and effort into that. Imagine I've been with my partner for X number of years. I'm only going to continue because I've already invested that X number of years.
Right.
Same with friends.
Often.
Yeah.
It happens often, especially in relationships.
Exactly. And the thing that you want to think about it is that the thought of leaving makes you feel that all that time and effort was wasted.
Right.
And here's the thing, like, for me, I'm not in a relationship thinking about the past, thinking about, I've been in it for 8 years. I might as well stay in it, because that's the thing. I'm in a relationship because I enjoy who I'm with in the present time and what I can see in the future.
Right.
And that's a lot of things, because a lot of people go out there and they say, why are you quitting on this? I'm not saying to everyone like be a quitter at everything, but it's something where it says it's okay to quit at a point where how can I say this?
The way I like to put this perspective, similar to what you're saying, is let's say for one person, if you ask for advice for someone, right, they'll be like, one of the best ways to succeed is hard work. And the way I put it is, if you put the ladder on the wrong wall and you have hard work, you're still climbing the wrong wall. So it's about, I guess in this sense, it's figuring out, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought, but that connection where it's finding what's right for you and not being afraid to lose what's been invested, regardless of what you think might be the right or wrong thing.
So the basic thing with sunk cost fallacy is that you're thinking about staying in this thing because you're invested into it, basically.
No, you're staying in that because you've already invested.
You're already invested.
Correct. It's not that you're investing more time into it because they're two separate things.
Yeah.
Let's think of it in the way of the concert. You spent $200 to see your favorite band play.
Right.
You go into that, and half an hour into it, you're like, man, this contest.
Yeah.
Man, I just spent $200 on this, man. Damn. So what do most people do?
They stay.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's two options. You either stay or you leave. They're the two options people have.
Right.
So option one, you've wasted $200 and you choose to stay. Option two, you've wasted $200, but you leave. Both of those options already have a sunk cost associated to it. A waste of $200. You wasted money. Yeah.
Right.
So why is your decision in the future or what you're going to do next have to affect what you've already done? So what if I told you this? You got a free concert ticket to your favorite band. Free concert ticket. Half an hour into it, are you more tempted to stay or to leave?
Probably more tempted to stay, only because if I've planned that night to be at that concert, I probably didn't have anything else to do.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So now let's put it in a different perspective. You ruined my leave. Let's say you were favorite concert, favorite band's playing. You got the tickets for free because you were in the area and they were like, hey, yo, free ticket for you. You're in the area, convenient, no time and effort spent on your side. You just had to rock up there. And it's a virtual concert, so you're at home.
Just leave. Yeah. You make it like the worst.
But you're tempted to leave.
Yeah. Most likely leave in that situation.
Because you haven't invested that time and effort into it. You haven't invested that into it. So it's kind of thinking about that logic of what makes you, why should whatever sunk cost has already happened make you or affect the way that you think of what you're going to be doing next. Even though that you know that staying will only produce probably a waste of time as well as a waste of money. So you can see where I'm going, where you've wasted money spending for the concert ticket, but if you stay, aren't you wasting more time? Aren't you wasting more effort from your side?
Yeah.
That's probably a better description to put it.
So how do you make the decision then?
So the decision that you do shouldn't rely on that sunk cost. How do you make that decision? That's where it's kind of understanding that, all right, I've already had this sunk cost. I've already had this thing happen. I've already wasted my time, effort, resources into it. That should I continue to be wasting my time? And having that mentality or that thinking to say, maybe it is time to leave. Maybe it is time to go. Maybe it is time to quit my job, do something that I enjoy doing.
Do you think it's what affects our decisions is also overthinking and the what ifs? So like say, for example, you're in a job and you have these two different mentalities, right? You got people at work right? I'm just using the job example. And they, as much as they want to do something like, oh man, I really want to travel. I really want to pursue this. I really want to do that. I really want to do X. But the reason that they stay is because I need security. And this is where I can find security. I know every day I'll have work, and every end of the week or every fortnight I'll have a paycheck at the end of that. But on the other side of that, if I really want to pursue this, I have to leave this because I have to put more time in that. And in order for me to do that, I need to create that time. And also, if I wanted to travel, I can't be in a job to travel, right? I need to have that freedom. But on the other side is like, how am I supposed to fund those things if I don't have a job? And maybe that they're afraid to do that because they have to lose that sense of security.
Like what you've just kind of said is all those assumptions that normal people would have. It's normal assumptions that people would have. But it's that conversation that we go to say, are we ready to make this big jump? Have we put in decisions and thoughts into it? There's nothing wrong about thinking. There's nothing wrong about planning ahead. But it's how deep into that rabbit hole do we want to get into before we make that jump? For me, I'm a very risk-averse person. I like to think out a lot of things. Man, when I go on holidays, I plan like schedules to say, this is the time I have to eat because I know that I have X number of hours to travel to this destination and I want to make the most out of my trips.
Yeah.
I plan contingencies. What happens if that's closed? I'll make a backup. So there's nothing wrong about planning, but it's understanding that how far into that journey or how far into that jump am I already in? It's taking those. I asked this question to a friend when we had this discussion where I started asking him. I was like, mate, like you've traveled a lot. You've traveled everywhere, and what helped you make that jump to say that I'm done with 9-to-5 jobs. I'm done with working in the office. I want to actually do something I really enjoy. And he told me it wasn't a big leap. It was taking these baby steps until I had that ability to jump or that ability to move. Because you lose a lot. You lose a lot when you make these decisions. It wouldn't be a cold. No one would be making risks if it was easy. But in terms of having it planned out, like I'm in that predicament right now where I'm deciding is working that 9-to-5 job something for me? When am I going to make that change? And like going back, it's where is it because I'm thinking that I've invested time, effort into building up my career so far that I'm not leaving? Is it because I've already spent all that time and effort into it? And kind of understanding like that is that sunk cost something that it's just affecting the job that I'm doing? Because I think about this, I think about like friendships, man. A lot of my friendships, I don't think of anything as a sunk cost. I'm friends with you because I enjoyed what we do in the present. I enjoy what we do in the present, and I see that I can see a future with the mates that I have. At the same time, I'm not going to continue to be a friend. I'm not going to continue to be putting in effort if the only reason is because we've been friends since we were kids.
Right.
And it's a tough decision to have because I feel that I'm a very friendly person. I put my priorities into my family and my friends, and your friends turn into family, and that's what I see. So it's something where if I'm not getting along with my mate's missus, I'm not getting along with my mate's family, I have to think to myself, like, mate, I'm not doing it I'm not friends. I'm not here to be friends with. I'll make enemies with them because I know that these guys are going to be there for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But still, that doesn't stop me from ending some friendships or letting friendships drift away.
That friendship one's a good one. Why do you think people are too afraid to leave certain friendships?
I'm a sucker for this, man. Like I care too much. For me, it's that care factor. It's that factor where, and that's the thing. Like the more I think about it, is it a sunk cost? Now I'm having debates with myself. Like, am I there for the sunk cost, or am I there because I actually truly care for some people?
And this one it's a hard one to like. I'm trying to like think how this whole thing works, man, and I'm just so confused a little bit because there's just so much going on.
Yeah, it's something. It's a question that makes you think. It's a question that kind of, you think you're on the right. You're like I think I'm with this sunk cost thing, but actually, am I with this sunk cost thing?
Yeah.
I'm like going in circles and making myself doubt myself, and I'm like, holy shit, man. That's how much this like sunk cost fallacy is like screwed me up so much because I'm just overthinking now. Am I overthinking the stuff that I'm like, it's meant to be simple?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what we do sometimes? We overcomplicate our life. You say we know, right? Life is simpler than we make it, but because of these certain topics, these things that make us think about these certain things, that they overcomplicate our life. Like what was with this question, this sunk cost fallacy now, I'm thinking I'm putting myself in these rabbit holes as well. And then you start to create doubts and you don't know what should you really do. So what do you think the best way to take action is when you analyze this, when you reflect upon these things? We have each other and we're voicing our ideas, our opinions together, and we're getting perspective. I think that's what's important. That's we need perspective. And once we start talking to ourselves and we only start trusting our own thoughts, that's how we get into these loopholes. That's how we get into these rabbit holes. So what is necessary is we need to find those people who can be our soundboard, we can plug into, who can give us certain perspectives that we would never thought of, right? So for me personally, I have you two. I have my mentors. I have those people who I can seek perspective from. And from there, I can choose what action I want to take, because then I have more, I have different experiences. I have different opinions from different views, from different levels of thinking. And that's what some of us don't have. And sometimes we live in this world where we have to trust in social media. We have to trust in these things that will potentially, that we think is going to give us the right information. But really, we need to find those trustworthy people in our lives.
And I think going on that point, it's something that is like, it's reassuring, because like, it's funny how like these sunk cost fallacies, it turns into like those topics, or there's that kind of like feeling, like angsty feeling during that time where you're like, oh, is that right? Is that wrong? What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Well, first thing you're eating strawberry, and next thing you know, man, what am I doing with my life, man?
First thing you see is a balloon in your face.
But happy birthday! It's having that it's having that kind of deep connection with like people that you grow up with, and I think that is something that is really and that's probably the reason why my priorities are family and friends, because it's people who you trust, who you can confide to, where no judgment will be taken. They can disagree. I'm okay with them to disagree, but no judgment will be taken, because you're just there to share something that is either troubling you or you want to kind of get a different perspective on. It's building that understanding of that that diversity of friends, that circle of trust, where you can have a different opinion. For example, and I'll use this as an example, like all my mates, if I go to them for advice, a majority of them, if I go to them for advice, guess what? They're going to come back to me. It's like in the same position.
Exactly. Right?
Oh man, I think I've got a girlfriend, man. Gonna be,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, I feel the same, man. I do exactly what you do. It's like, But the thing is, you talk to this to your parents. You talk to this to another mate who isn't in the same Asian age bracket, 25 to 35 age group that you're in. You talk to someone who probably your workmate who's in like a Caucasian background, different culture, different traditions, and they'll go to you and be like, "Oh, mate, like, yeah, nah, man,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But like it's and having that diversity, you have that understanding, and this is the same thing. Like Jasper has his mentors. He's got people out there who aren't in his circle of not circle of friends, sorry, his diversity bias, I guess you could call it, or his background. So how can he gets completely different advice from those people, or maybe not completely different, but another perspective of advice from those people who potentially for us might be like, oh yeah, no, unlucky, man. Like you come to me and ask me about advice on how to take care of a kid, man. I don't know.
You go to Jeff for that, man.
Yeah, exactly. You go to people who've had kids, and that's the thing. It's like, how can you build up that circle of trust or that circle of friends, that circle of people where you could go to and reach out for unjudgmental advice or advice where you won't be judged.
Yeah.
That last part's the hardest, like that won't be judged spot, because, man, like how many people can you say have that genuine kind of respect to say that you confided them to say, oh man, I'm doing this in my business and I really don't know what to do. How many of them is going to be like, oh man, this guy has a business, just get a 9-to-5 job, man. Or something like that. Like, oh man, my design business isn't working that well. They're going to be like, yeah, that's what you get for doing your own thing. You should have conformed to what everyone else does, stood by the norms.
Isn't that the thing? Like, so when you confide in those people about those certain things and they kind of reveal those judgments about you, that's when you kind of go, aside. You really kind of have like, you just have to just build that trust with other people slowly. If they're open to that, not judging you and having that judgment before you even think.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we all judge. Like, it's in our nature, right? But the difference is when we choose not to express those judgmental thoughts to other people. And then there's those who express it freely. Like I would say with you guys, I trust you guys. I don't know what's going on in your minds, but I know it's a safe space to talk to you guys because you're going to come from a point of empathy. You're going to try to find understanding. Whereas people want to come from a point of, what advice can I give this person? How can I fix the problem? As opposed to be like, how can I just be here to support you? And if you ask advice from me, okay, fine. You've asked for it. And if I have advice to give, maybe I'll ask you, do you want to hear my advice? And if they don't, it's fine, whatever. But, we all judge in some shape or form. It's just depending on whether we take action on those thoughts or not.
I wanted to go back on JP's thoughts about the fallacy thing. But when you're thinking about your job and you had these thoughts of, thinking about, should I leave this like 9 to 5 and explore or go out? Yeah. So what brought you to those thoughts in the first place?
I think so late last year, I should say, during the pandemic. And I spoke about this previously. Me and my mate, Jason, ended up joining a startup. And we started developing an app called Resemi, which is a app where you can share recipes with other home cooks. And we started thinking like, okay, let's use this as a pilot. Let's use this as a pilot to say, if it's interesting, if it gets some traction, if it gets us money as well, because I'm not doing this stuff for free. It's something where I'd be like, oh, maybe this is tempting for me to leave my 9 to 5 and I should be able to sustain doing it. Now, I wasn't a developer. I studied computer science in uni, but I never ended up developing as my job. I did I knew the basics, I knew the theory, and I was like, I don't know if I'll enjoy it. Like I was good at it, but I never enjoyed it. And then I started. First week, I started on like just very basic stuff, like creating a basic front end design. And all you do in the front end design work is someone already designs it for you. You just have to make sure like the building blocks are in the right place and the right color and that. So that was a fairly easy start to it. And then the more and more I worked into it, the more and more I developed myself to kind of research, this is the right patterns we got to do. This is the right way that you do these certain functions. It started getting to me, I'm like, I'm actually enjoying this stuff. I'm actually enjoying the work that I'm doing. I'll finish 9 to 5. I'll get back onto the work. And then next thing I know, it's like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Like, holy crap, I've been working on this for so long. And I didn't feel tired of doing it. Now, was that because I was kind of sick of my job already? Potentially. But at the same time, I started thinking into it. And the more and more that this app ended up looking like a proper app that anyone would be able to download, I was like, what else can I do outside of this app? Like right now, I've got 9 to 5. I'm making money in my 9 to 5, but I don't have enough time to be working on this startup, plus thinking about other ideas out of that. And having that social life that I have. Well, lockdown kind of like brought it down, but like that social life of being able to just kick back with friends on a Saturday, Sunday without being, oh, sorry guys, I'm working. So that's kind of what got me into that position of thinking, oh, am I ready to move? Am I ready to jump ship? And I think it goes back to the decisions like, how do you know that you're ready? Or how do you know that you're willing to take that risk? I leave this job, I go do some stuff for this startup or my own, potentially my own company with my mate Jason. Is that something that will make me money in the future? I don't know right now. I haven't thought that far. Potentially it could, but will it? I don't have the answer for that. So that's kind of the only one that kind of leaves me behind to say, should I leave a comfortable job where I'm making okay money and potentially just keep doing this on the side? Or do I make that jump to say, you know what, I've got enough capital to fund myself for X number of months, X number of years. Let's just put it into that and just start working here. My biggest fear is just loss of time and effort, and not loss of time and effort into what I've already done in the job, but time and effort into, I've had this business. I quit my job where I'd say I was like 80% content. I'm trying to think of the word. I don't want to say happy, but content. 80% content at my job.
Right.
At that point, I'd probably say I was 60% content. Now it's kind of moved up, but like 80% content. And if I leave my job, I'll go into a role where I think at that time, right now, that I'm 100% content. It's pretty fun. I'm enjoying the work that I'm doing. But if that fails, I'll probably go down to like 20% content because now I'm like,
are you going to base that failure off?
Base that failure off if, for example, I invest time in an app and it doesn't kick off.
Okay.
Now, potentially I'll go to another app, but imagine going into all these apps that you're putting time and effort into. Like, I'll give you an example. The app that I have right now that I'm developing with Resume is I've invested 8 months into that. And the best satisfaction that a developer sees is that people are using the app. People are using the stuff that you developed. And that's kind of a key, a KPI to say that you are doing well. People are using your app.
Yeah.
That's good, but I've already invested 6 to 8 months of time into doing that. Now, what if I invested 6 to 8 months into doing that and no one uses the app?
Yeah.
Or that traction goes up, you get maybe a few hundred customers or a few hundred people using the app, and then it doesn't go up. How many times can you fail during that?
Well, it depends how many, I guess it really depends on the person as well.
Yeah.
Like if you, I forgot what an analogy would be, but like say if you had someone who this was their only option and they had nothing else to turn back to, and they had no exit strategy or whatever, how long do you think they would keep going to see potential success? I don't know, right? You've heard different stories. I'm not going to, reiterate those things because I'm pretty sure you guys know what some people have done with some of the patience that they had to do. Like I just listened to a podcast where this guy had extreme patience. So he was wrongly convicted, right? Imagine that, being wrongly convicted, but this guy freaking studied law, did everything he could to make sure his plans went into place, right? And he had to have patience. He was in jail for what, like 8 or something around the 8 to 10 years or whatever. Make sure all those plans put to place without even rushing into seeing results. Like he found this evidence that he could have potentially shown, but in the bigger picture, it would have made him, lose in the long run. So with these things, it's hard for me to talk about because I haven't experienced it myself, but with just hearing what other people have accomplished, I think there is an ability for us to find success if we allow those things to find shape, right? Let's say with this recipe thing, fine, 10 months, no one uses it. Well, all of a sudden, I don't know, 24 months later, it starts to boom. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's up to...
I think it's something where the factors that of, I guess, how I am now or who I am now as well plays a deep part into it. And I'm not saying that it's kind of like I agree with you. I agree with you where different people have different circumstances right now, and coming from the circumstance was where I was 80% content. If I was potentially 20% content, it would be an easier decision.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
And that's the thing. It's like what risks, I guess you could say, what risks have I to put into consideration to say, all right, if this fails, I can pick myself up and I can do it. A lot of people have harder situations than I do. This one, for me, I think it's like, I'm not in a difficult situation and I'm grateful for that. But how do you kind of make that decision to say, all right, I'm going to drop this, knowing that in the future I'm going to get married, knowing in the future I'm going to be having a family, knowing in the future that it's not just me that I have to think about.
For sure. And then I guess, I don't know, man, like with this type of stuff, obviously there's going to be so many different variables that come into play. And at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you to make the decision. So I like what we talked about before. It's all perspective. Like I'm a person who likes to see the best in people and likes to see what the potentiality of what people can do. But obviously you have to have that brutal truth of this is my reality right now. I want to be able to do these things. And if I were to do this, I don't think I'd be able to achieve those things. And then that's where you have to make the decision. Like, okay, maybe the best decision is to stay where I am. Right. But
I'm wondering about that actually. Oh, sorry, Jess.
Yeah, no. Feel free.
I was going to ask JB because I know you're very you like to plan things out a lot. How have you put down like scenario 1, scenario 2?
I've thought about a lot of scenarios. I've thought a lot about scenarios because the thing is, then, like in relationships as well, it's something where you have to be able to discuss not only what your plan is. You got to think about what their plan is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like thinking about when I was 18, I'm like, mate, I'm gonna have a kid young. 22, I'm gonna have a kid, man. I'm gonna be a young dad. You're gonna be sick as that, man. Hey, hello, fellow dudes. Like, bro, that's gonna be me, man. But like, the older you get, and this is something that I only realized, I'd say in my later 20s, is that when you're in a relationship, you got to consider what your partner is thinking as well.
Of course.
And back then I would have been like, oh, what do you mean, man? Like, I have this plan already. You got to follow my plan. I planned it out. It's my journey. You got to, like, it's either you're with me or you're not. But it's not like that. And this is something that I've spoken with Dots, is that I'm like I asked her, I was like, hey, when do you want to have a kid? I'm approaching 30 and gone back to when I was 18, I was like, yeah, young dad, 22. Mate, I'm 28 now. So I'm 6 years overdue. Like, it's that kind of thing of like, when do you want one? Because I can't make that decision if potentially she's the one who's going to be giving birth. And so how do you make that decision? How do you put other people's thoughts, other people's goals, other people's journeys, and try to get it to align with yours? So
yep. Yeah, go.
I was gonna say, so how do you plan those things out? And they're the kind of the options that I thought about. So I'll give you I always think about this as well. I always plan it out, and it always changes. I have like a 12-month, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year kind of goal. Where your 10-year is just very, very high level, man. 10 years, I have my own house, I have 2 kids. That's as far as my 10-year goal goes so far. But like in the next 12 months, I know I'm not going to be getting married. I know I'm not going to be having a kid. 3 years, maybe I will. But then if I take this job, if I take this opportunity, one of either myself or my partner will need to be the one who's going to be potentially funding the breadwinner of the family. Now, is that something that she wants?
Yeah.
And it get kind of like, just thinking about that spirals down to other thoughts, and you go through all these different kind of branches. Think about it at chess, man. And that's something where I've been nerding out into for like the past few months, is that you think about the early game, the openings that you have they're very easy. They're very easy to memorize because there's less moves, probability wise. There's less options for your opponent to do. You get into mid game is like, holy crap, there's so many different types of options. There's so many different moves that you do. You think that you're planning like 3 steps ahead, and potentially your opponent's like 5 steps ahead of you. You're like, oh crap, how did he read that as much as I did? And then you go to the end game, where the end game, you don't have as much pieces. You've simplified the board. It's potentially an even game. How do you end it on a win? Or how do you end it not to lose? And when I say that it's not to lose, is because a draw is considered a win for both people. Oh, that's a pretty good analogy, man. I just thought about that.
You're a genius. You're a genius.
It's probably been used like hundreds of times. But like, I just thought about it because I was playing chess today, and it's like something I'm like, it's so true. It kind of resonates in life, where you live youth kind of like, so many people have already been through these options that I know what's kind of the next step. But once you hit mid game, man, the options, it's no longer just basic fundamentals of advance your pawns, knight before bishops, all that stuff. It's actually like, well, calculating steps, but how far advanced do you want to calculate to?
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors.
Exactly, yeah. And I play a lot of blitz. So there's also time constraints. Blitz, I'm spending 3 minutes on a game of chess. But people who play classical, they could be there for 30 minutes, hours, calculating on a piece of paper every single move that they have to do, different types of branches, because they have more time. They have more time to do it. In blitz, man, I'm like mid-game, like, holy crap, one wrong move and like the game's lost.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of when it comes to that, there's also often a lot of overthinking as well. Like, yeah, I'm in a similar situation where I'm thinking about like my goals and my plans in my life, and obviously with Yuka, she has her own plans and stuff. How do we align these things together?
Yeah.
It's like
it's a lot of compromise, man. It's a lot of compromise, and it's really tough because I'm a very fair person. I like to say I'm a very fair person. So I find it a lot easier where to compromise with someone, I may just back down from what I want to do. And that's with the condition of this is someone that I know I'm going to be spending the rest of my life with. So how do you make those decisions? How do you compromise those decisions? But some people aren't like that. Some people, like how I am, if I know I'm right with some random person, I'll beat them up and be like, bro. And usually if I think I'm right and like I've done the research to back it, and like it's something where I know I'm like, there's those times where you know you're 100% right with nothing. I'd be like, bro, man, and it's something where like, I don't want to sound cocky now, but like, of course, if I was proven wrong, I'd be like, my bad, like I'm gonna think about it. But if I know I'm 100% right, I'm not gonna back down. But like in a relationship, you can't do that. You can't be like that.
Yeah.
You won't last in a relationship if you
normally it's just you two. So like, unless you have like a third party that goes, all right, I reckon this person actually has a better decision, like this is more important in life and blah blah blah. But it's always just you two. Like you just have to somehow make that compromise amongst each other without having this massive argument.
Oh no, the brown cups look better. Shit. It's true. I think it's just something where, like you were saying at the start, Jasper, like you wanted to kind of like talk about that sunk cost fallacy, and I don't know if is it fallacy or fallacy.
Fallacy.
It sounds very phallic. I just think of like phallic when I think of like fallacy.
We'll call it fallacy then.
But I've heard people say fallacy.
I heard fallacy too. That's what I heard. Doesn't matter, man. Who knows what? I'm confused with English these days, man. So many pronouns and crap. But I guess with what you guys are talking about, have you guys done what we've done with our business and found alignment with your partners and actually sat down and talked about what your values are and doing those things together? Like you said, I have made these plans. I have made like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, but together have you guys made a plan? And have you guys actually dedicated time to sit down and actually talk about it as opposed to just planning certain things?
I can say for me, I have, as in like, it's something where I've been on, topics with about that stuff, about for example getting married. Like I wouldn't know if I didn't have that conversation, those assumptions would just be assumptions. So one time I sat down and I'm like, oh hey babe, we're nearly 30. And Joel's just like, shit. We're nearly 30, and I've done the timelines for you to do this, for you to do that. By the time everything's all done, you're probably going to be 30, 31, and then thinking about kids, 32. 4 years. So I know 4 years is the minimum time until potentially I'll get married and have a kid. So that's the discussion I had to have with her, because if I didn't have the discussion, I'd always be thinking like, should I continue doing this? Should I?
But by also having that conversation where you put that timeline, could you also have potentially pressured her into thinking, oh, crap, I have 4 years left, but I still want to do these things too, type of thing?
I think it has pressured her, because I think, and when I say not pressure, sorry, let me rephrase. I think it has made her think about it, because she has her own plans. So I asked her, I'm like, where do you see yourself in X years time? Like if I wanted to start a family, what would you need to do? And she's a very career driven person, and I fully respect that. Like I know she's been trying to like ensure that she's a perfectionist. She likes to do the things to the best of her ability. And I'll go back to one of the discussions that I had with her in terms of, she sent me this article, and I was Googling it. That's why I lost my train of thought. But I was trying to find that article that she sent me, which was, if you can't find a spouse who supports your career, stay single. That's what the article was about. And here's the thing, like, if you start thinking about it, all right, you're starting a family. You're in this position where both of you are doing really well in your careers, but someone has to stay home to take care of the kids. Someone has to sacrifice so that another person potentially could be doing better. So the question came, would you stay home and be the primary carer so that she could further her career? For me, I know my priorities. I was like, I'd be a stay-at-home dad. Hell yeah. Sugar mama. No, but it's something that I'd value because I want to be a good dad. I want to be someone. I want to have a really good relationship with my children when they grow up. So I'd be like, yeah, I'd be doing that. With one caveat, as long as you don't prioritize work over the family.
Yeah.
So like that's discussion straight away. You can see both of us are having discussions. Both of us are having conversations about this. It all started with a link to an article, but it's something that grew more and more into something that we were able to talk about. It's difficult conversation.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking about that type of stuff before, to be honest. And Yuka's the one that brings it up a lot of the time. But
it feels good because you're starting that dialogue. It's no longer just thoughts in your heads that's saying
exactly. Yeah.
Maybe is she gonna like that? Oh, I don't know. Man.
But you're totally right about like that assumption that it's just gonna be your way. Like you have this thing planned out in your head. This is how my life is gonna go. But this other person has their own complete different thing. So when I say like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do for the future, and it's like, no, but I want to do this. Like, oh okay. Like this whole of like, because obviously like she lives in Japan, like her parents and stuff. That whole thing of how often we're gonna go back to Japan to visit the parents and all this other stuff. There's so much.
Yeah, and they're difficult conversations to bring up. They are very difficult conversations to bring up. It's like ones where is your partner providing you the amount of emotional care that you want? And if she's not, or if they're not, what's wrong with saying, oh, hey, babe, I haven't been feeling loved, or I haven't been feeling this certain emotions, and I'm or something, or having that kind of discussion. And it's hard to bring up to them because you don't want to offend them with a question. They're probably like, I'm just BAU. What do you mean? This is normal. You don't want to get them to hear the news where they're kind of overloaded and overwhelmed and they start overthinking. Are they ready to hear that? So how can you phrase it in a way where that discussion ends up being productive? That discussion ends up having some value rather than just bringing these things up. What's a difficult thought that you've been thinking of recently?
Like having a kid, because obviously at our age, it's getting more and more riskier to do that. So yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Like we just want to do the whole marriage and kids thing as quick as possible. So yeah, that just taking into consideration like her position, because obviously she lives here. It's harder for her to find a good job because her English is not the best. So we're thinking, oh, well, is it better for you to go to Japan? But what about me? You know, that all those considerations. We've had this discussion heaps of times.
Like that one would be a hard one because like especially where she's from a different country. It's like, and the thing is like because we're all from Australia, we're like, yeah, just get her to move down here.
Yeah,
but it's something like, have you had the discussion of, am I the one who's meant to be moving over there?
Yeah. Then we've had that discussion. It's like she actually offered us like, oh, you should go to Japan. It's more easier to live there. Blah blah blah. You know, you can find a job there. I'm like, I have no idea how to speak Japanese. I'm terrible at language. I'll probably be like a janitor or something like that. So I'm just like, but there's still a lot of different things we're taking into consideration. How did we get to this topic?
No, it's good, man, because these are the type of discussions where you get perspective from each other, right?
Yeah.
They're necessary. Yeah. And they're difficult conversations to have. I don't know anything, so I'm just going to stay quiet because I wouldn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm the worst person to come for that, but I'll just listen because potentially this could help me in the future too, right? What you guys are going through, I know potentially I can come to you guys, hey, I'm having this. What do you guys do to get through that process, right? This is why these struggles, these things happen. They're so necessary in our life. We have some people wanting to live a life without struggle, but without the struggle, you can't be relatable to people. You can't have that. You don't have that experience behind it to actually have a valid, a valid opinion of it because you haven't experienced it. So, but we're all maturing. We're all getting to that point in life where, we all want to settle down, right?
And the funny thing is, man, you asked me these questions 5 years ago. Completely different answers. Like for me, I felt that I've only truly grown up. I've only fully truly grown in the past 3 years. That understanding to kind of move away. Because back then I was just like, I was just like, man, whatever, it'll come, whatever, like that it is what it is mentality, man. But like going on that topic, but like the only reason I hate that mentality, the only reason I hate that is because what Jasper said, what we were discussing was that it's that defeatist mentality to say, it's already happened, I can't do much about it. It's like, there's always, if it does truly matter to you, there's always something that you can do. Like, and the more you keep saying it, the more you keep building that into yourself to say that it is what it is, the more likely it is where and something actually big does happen. Something big where like, oh, my mom died. It is what it is. It's like, bro, man, like you can release that emotion, you can release that stuff. It isn't what it is.
Right.
It's something where how do you kind of tell yourself to kind of snap out of that defeatist state and start saying, hey, actually, I could have changed something. Okay, for the next time, how can I learn and make it better?
Yeah, actually using experiences to learn something out of it. Whereas that it is what it is mentality is just, it's kind of this, I don't know if this is the right word, but lackadaisical in a way. You're not, in a way, with that context about, let's say, losing a family member or whatever, you have a right to be, feel that emotion, they're all valid emotions to have. But do you think possibly people aren't willing to show those emotions because they don't want to show their weakness, their soft side? We live in a world where we're always trying to prove that we're strong, where we don't have any vulnerabilities or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it is that. I think people are afraid to sometimes be authentic because it's scary to show your true self to other people in case you get that judgment.
But yeah, I think it's true. I think it is. It is that vulnerable state because even with you boys back then, I probably wouldn't have shown that vulnerable, that emotional side of me. I probably would have been like, bro, like, oh man, I'm sick kind of attitude. But now it's like, I see all these people who still have that tough exterior who are like, oh bro, I'm sick, can't look at me. It's like, I don't want to be that anymore. And I'm not saying that they're bad people. It's just I, as a person, have grown to accept that I don't need to have a tough exterior to be tough myself. I don't have to prove to everyone or prove to anyone that, oh man, look at me, I'm a sick cunt.
I think it's more seen in males, I guess. This not willing to show our emotions because obviously, like even for me, I was one of those people who always had to show like I was a part of that group or I was conforming with everyone. I changed my personality to make sure I fit in. And in the end, I was just hurting myself because I put up this facade and it was kind of like, well, where did this get me? And where are those people now? Right. It's just a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. It's best to show who your genuine self is because the people who will be there for who you are going to stay with you no matter what. Like you guys, right? No matter what happens, whatever our differences may be, our disagreements or agreements, it doesn't matter. We're going to be there because of you, not because of these certain differences we have, right?
I'm curious to know, how did you guys feel like the first time you actually revealed your your, I don't know, what do you call it?
Your genuine
not genuine self, but just broke down those walls.
The walls.
To not, I think you more likely do it to your partner, but to your boys or to your friend group.
I think for us, it was like, it wasn't just I'm gonna bang straight away. It was something where it took time and trust to develop. Like, and I think back at like the Palmer's group. Back like I was on like my phone looking like old videos, and I see one of when like Jasper first joined us. That night at Josh's house, man. I was like, that's a sick card, man. Well, like it was like that night. It was like that night. It's like, yes, I grew up with him when I was young, and this was back years ago, man. This is probably like 10 years ago, nearly. Yeah,
I think 2014 when that night.
7 years ago. Fuck, this guy remembers calendars and his calendar. Anniversaries.
I was initiated.
Yeah, but like it brings it up with like, it's been 7 years. It's like, all right, I didn't really like, we hung out at church and stuff back then, but I wasn't really close as I was to you as like you were probably with Josh and Jake, where you probably see them a lot more. And for me, I only came back to church. When did I come back to church? When I was like 12. Probably 2002 was when I went back to church. So I had my childhood. I saw you guys at like family parties, but I was never at church spending every week with you guys. So that's where potentially like we started having that friendship. We started kind of like, oh, I remember these guys from parties. We started being the friends. And then we hit that party when Jasper was initiated. And me thinking back 7 years ago, I'm like, mate, I would have never seen myself friends with Jasper because he would just never hung out with us.
Yeah.
But now you can see the people who were there in that group, the people who were there in that circle, all those people who actually ended up mattering were the ones who are still there now. And it's tough to say that. Yeah. That's how I feel about it. And that's where I take it into consideration and I'll say how you say it. I did not stay friends with people just because I've invested time and effort into them. I stay friends with them because I enjoy how I am with them now in the present and how I see myself with these guys in the future. And that's why, like I said, I put effort, even if I have misunderstandings with their partners, I put effort to ensure that I'm not here to make further like disruptions. I'm not here to be the bad guy. Because I know that I have to spend the rest of my life with you as well as part of the family.
You know, one thing I noticed, especially with that trip we had during the start of the year, how we're all just trying to find understanding now. We're not afraid to have those conversations. Whereas I felt before, we're more just, hey, let's just have fun, guys. Let's just do this and that, whatever. It's just that enjoyment. But now you can really see the maturity in the group and with our own growth as well. And it's those conversations you realize like, man, we're not these kids anymore who just do these things just for fun. We're trying to find value in all things we do in life, right? And if it's finding understanding in our friendships and those things especially, I think that's super important. Like what you said about, I'm not friends with you just because I've known you for X amount of years. And that's what some people do. And that's how friendships become toxic, is because they're too afraid to find new friendships, too afraid to find new friend groups, right?
It's not just friendships, man. It's applicable.
Of course,
applicable to like relationships, to jobs, to experiences. And it's what we've been discussing this whole time about that sunk cost.
Have you guys been, what have you guys been doing during lockdown?
To be honest, just working. Just working.
Yeah.
And it's really been affecting my mental state because all I do is walk from the bedroom into the room, go on the computer and just be like, sometimes I'm so locked into working that I don't even go outside. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I forgot to even go outside.
I'm in the same state, and it's funny that you bring that up because like, for the past few days, it's been like super sunny outside. Like really good weather. And it's something where I've learned during lockdown, like few months back, I was struggling at work. I was like really stretched, burnt out. I felt it. And I saw it eating into my actual personal life. And I've always made a rule that if I see something eating into my personal life or my own, or myself, I need to change something. Because it wasn't the first time. This wasn't the first time I've had those feelings.
Right.
So what I ended up doing, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna stop work once 5:30 hits. I'm done. If people really need me, they'll call me.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a call past 5:30 for the pretty much since then. So I'm like, well, it can wait till business hours. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, well, how do I take this into something that I can be better on, or how can I continue to better the ways that of I guess that work-life balance. And the reason why I say it's so tough is because, like I said, I work 9 to 5, normal job, and then some nights I work 7, play some dotes, eat some dinner, and then 7 o'clock onwards potentially code some more, and then rinse and repeat for the weekdays. What I started to do recently is, like you said, for the past, I guess, you're so invested in work that you haven't been able to go out. Like the first lockdown, every lunchtime I'd go running. I'd run around Skeleton Creek, do something like that. But now all I do every lunchtime, man, I'm just eating lunch on my desk.
Yeah.
While I think, and it's how do you force yourself out of that habit? How do you get out of that loop of it's just work from 9 to 5?
That's hard.
I think the first thing is realizing it, right? So I realized that just recently that I was not going out at all. The one thing I did this morning was actually like wake up super early and actually meditated for the first time in a long time. And actually that made me feel like so much more level-headed throughout the day, because when I'm working at home and the only thing is going from the bed to the desk to the computer, and all you see is like, you're constantly like, in front of the screen, like people call, I find myself a little bit on the edge. So I get like angry at like little things. So having that meditation, I was able to at least keep level-headed. I should definitely go more outside more. That's for sure. Yeah.
Like I get that feeling because like I remember just a few weeks back, I was in a meeting and I just went schizo at my team.
Yeah.
It was like I'm a really bad work from home, so I'll tell you my habits. Like I have a daily stand up at 9 a.m. My alarm's at 8:55. Man, I'm not allowed to bed if I'm on that meeting. Yeah. So like I'm already kind of like, oh man, I just woke up. All right, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good now. I had another meeting after that, and it's come to the point where it's something where I just went into that meeting and I'm like, guys, man, here's everything that I'm doing right now. And like I was already overloaded. They knew I was overloaded. And it was like a very simple task where a simple document that you just have to read will give you all the answers. Yet they're asking us like, oh, can you write this up into an email that we need to send up to the upper management so that they get an understanding of it? And I'm like, everything that you need is in this document that I've already spent time and effort into doing. And then they just kept going into it's like, oh yeah, but it's not written in the way that's structured in the way that I'm like, here's the information. And I told them word for word, here's paragraph 1, here's paragraph 2, here's paragraph 3. You just have to put it in a nice email. And they're like, oh, but I don't have an understanding of it. I'm like, of course you don't have an understanding of it. That's why it's in this document for you to do. And it's just getting like, you see that frustration building up and up. And I was like, what do you guys want from me? Like, what do you want? Like, information's there. What do you need from me? Because they were trying to they're just beating around the bush, kind of like not take away like not do work. And it's like the stuff's there, guys. Like I'm frustrated. I just came off a meeting. I haven't had my coffee yet because I wake up late for my stand-up. And then now you're asking me dumb questions. And the dumb thing about these is that like some of these guys are getting paid like 150K, and I'm like,
Oh,
But then again, like I'm not like that to everyone. I'm only like that if like I'm bottled up already. Like I'm in the mood, and like I'm usually very helpful, especially if you're a new starter, if you're a graduate. I'll invest time to mentor you guys so that you grow up to have that same mentality that I want to be hardworking. I want to do well in my job. I'm not here to fill a role. I'm a team player. I'm if you need help, I will help you out to the extent that I'm not stretching myself and overburdening myself with work as well. I'll help you out to the best of my capacity. But some people just don't understand that. Some people are the ones who I can do the work, but I can get this person to do it, so they'll do it. Even though they're overloaded, I'll get this person. Like, they don't want to learn, they don't want to invest that time because they know that the company won't get rid of them. It's probably cheaper to keep them on board than to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I just want to travel the world, eat and review stuff. I just want to be a food reviewer.
Want to be a food blogger?
Yeah, food blogger. I just want to be like those guys, like I wasn't like Food Ranger or The Best Food Show. They live in like Asia and they just do like reviews on like cheap feeds and like travel Asia.
I reckon you can do good reviews though because you have the palate for it.
Didn't you say you wanted to? You could potentially do like a
omakase style,
omakase
style restaurant, but based on what you guys want. What flavors do you guys like? That would be crazy.
What is it? What type of restaurant?
What flavors? You tell me. It's like, what flavors do you want? All right, and then I just have a set number of ingredients and I'll be like, I'm gonna make you this. I reckon you'll like this.
But you'll make anything.
Yeah, I'll make anything for them. Ooh. Yeah. Like how sick would that be? It's like, I don't know what I'm feeling. Let's go to this restaurant. Apparently he always gets what you feel. It's like, all right. Like that restaurant, I only need to be correct 51% of the time. As long as 51% of people are like, yeah, this guy actually has, people can be like, man, 51% right? It's always correct.
But would you do every single food that you ever want? Like, so you can say like, oh, I want a pizza. And another person goes, I want like.
No, I would say, you won't get the cuisine that you want. I'm going to go to you and be like, what flavors do you like?
Right.
So that would be a pretty niche like restaurant because you'd have to know what flavor you want, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's people who are like, apparently I like citrus. I like sweet dishes. I like, I don't know, something else. I'll be like, all right, here. And it's at the end of the day, it's kind of putting that trust into the chef, putting that trust into the cook who's in front of you right now to be like, yep, okay. Trust me that I can match those flavors.
Damn, that'd be a lot of pressure on you though.
Yeah. And then to make it even more surprising, to make it even more like bigger would be something where, all right, you like these flavors? I'm going to feed you something that will be that flavor, but it's not that flavor. So it's like, they're like, oh yeah, I like chocolate. I like something. I'm trying to think of something like, oh yeah, I like herby sour tastes. And you bring like a block of chocolate and be like, here you go. And then when they eat it, it's like, it's not a chocolate, it's like that. It's like some...
Just blow their mind.
You just blow their minds even more. You're like, holy crap. It's like really big influence from like Heston. Heston does a really good job at it. Like his science that, what is it called? Like gastronomy or whatever. Gastronomics.
What's that? What's gastronomics?
Gastronomy. It's like the science behind food.
Oh.
So like there's a dish that he does. Like when I went to his restaurant in when it was in Melbourne, everyone always got they always got this pate at the start, but the pate was like shaped as an apricot. And like you're like, what the hell? This looks so good. You open it up and it's like the best pate you've ever tasted. He does a lot of like weird designs of food as well. For example, like he did like really, if you look at like Heston and like the Alice in Wonderland theme, oh man, that was like crazy. I was like, holy crap, that looks sick. There was one where he did like this like set course meal. And all of the dishes were in the shape of childhood treats. So like they had like the lollipop icy poles, they had like all these different types of like childhood snacks, and then every time they ate into it, it's like, what the hell? This is like a chicken, like I'm eating this icy pole, but it's like a chicken, like chicken tender or something like that. It's like, how the hell did he do this?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Such an experience, man.
Yeah.
What's his name? Heston what?
It's Heston Blumenthal. Yeah. It's like he did this 1970s feast, and like it's like mind blowing to kind of see. It just looks like an icy pole. It legit looks like an icy pole. And it's like, holy crap! Like, you remember the paddle pop ice twists?
Mm.
Like he had one like that looked like that, and like when they ate into it, I can't remember. It was like I can't remember what it was, like some pate or something that was in it, and I'm like, holy crap!
Oh yeah, looking at his dishes now.
You see them? They're like crazy.
Yeah.
It's science. It's science.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the science of food. You know, it's not just blowing your mind on like the flavor profile. It's blowing your mind on, holy crap, that's not what it's meant to be, but it is.
Mm.
Well, it's
Oh
like
man, I'm so hungry.
he made one about it was like a plant. It was served to you on like, it like had a plant. It had dirt. It had grass on top of it. And people were like, why the hell would you be eating this? But when they ate it, it was like I can't remember what it was now, man. There's so many of the dishes, but like people you're eating, you're like, I'm eating dirt, but it's actually like some beef or something like that.
That is so cool.
Illusions through food. That's crazy, man. Anyway.
So tired, I'm done.
Yeah, it's getting late, boys. I think we'll call it. Thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for
all good.
Yeah, man. I always love having these discussions with you, and you have these new topics that you want to talk about. Yeah, man. It's just food for thought. You learn something every day, right? All right, boys. Take it easy. Thanks for listening. Join in on the next one.
This is the end to the Okiru podcast.